What if I told you that miners have been finding impossible objects buried in coal for over a century? Objects that shouldn't exist. Artifacts that contradict everything we've been taught about human history. Coal forms over millions of years. Compressed plant matter from ancient forests. The process takes anywhere from 60 million to 300 million years. So, when a perfectly machined metal object emerges from a coal seam, we've got a problem. Either our understanding of geology is completely wrong, or someone was creating advanced artifacts millions of years before humans existed. The official explanation? Natural formations, unusual mineral deposits, misidentification by untrained observers. But here's what that explanation can't account for: detailed documentation, multiple independent witnesses, laboratory analysis, photographs of objects that defy natural formation. These discoveries have been reported for over 150 years, from Pennsylvania to Russia, from small-town miners to credentialed geologists. The pattern repeats: advanced objects, sealed in coal, impossible timelines. Most of these findings never reach mainstream science. The few that do get explained away. The rest disappear into storage facilities, or private collections, or simply vanish from the historical record. Today we're examining 10 specific cases, objects that were found encased in coal, each one documented, each one impossible according to accepted chronology. These aren't legends or folklore. These are physical artifacts with witnesses. Some were photographed. Some were analyzed. Some still exist in private collections. The implications challenge everything: our timeline of human civilization, our understanding of technological development, the very foundation of archaeological dating. Fair warning: what you're about to hear contradicts conventional science, but the evidence exists. The witnesses testified. The objects were real. The question isn't whether these discoveries happened. The documentation proves they did. The question is what they mean, and why mainstream science refuses to investigate. Number 1 takes us to Morrisonville, Illinois. The year is 1891. A woman named Mrs. S.W. Culp breaks open a chunk of coal. She's preparing it for her stove, standard winter fuel. Inside that coal, she finds a gold chain. Not a chain like mineral formation, an actual manufactured gold chain, 10 inches long, ornate workmanship, the kind of delicate jewelry you'd find in a Victorian shop. Except this chain was sealed inside coal that formed millions of years ago. Mrs. Culp brings the discovery to public attention. The Morrisonville Times publishes the account. Multiple witnesses examine both the chain and the coal fragments. The indentation where the chain rested is clearly visible in the coal pieces. The chain shows sophisticated manufacturing, each link precisely formed, the clasp mechanism intricate and functional. This isn't crude metalwork. This is refined craftsmanship. Here's the geological problem. The coal came from the Illinois basin. That coal dates to the Pennsylvanian period, roughly 300 million years ago. Humans weren't around 300 million years ago. Neither were our ancestors. Neither were primates. Mammals barely existed. Yet someone made this chain. Someone with metallurgical knowledge. Someone with jeweler's skills. The Morrisonville Times preserved the account, but mainstream archaeology never investigated. The discovery was filed away as an anomaly, one of hundreds that don't fit the timeline. Mrs. Culp kept the chain. It eventually passed to her descendants. Whether it still exists in some private collection is unknown. No major museum ever requested to examine it. No university sent researchers to verify the claim. The official stance must be a hoax, or contamination, or misidentification. But the witnesses were clear. The coal was unbroken until Mrs. Culp split it. The chain bore the impression of the coal matrix. The timeline doesn't work according to accepted science. So the discovery gets ignored, dismissed, forgotten by everyone except those who study impossible artifacts. But Mrs. Culp wasn't alone. This pattern repeats across continents, across decades, across completely independent discoveries. Number 2 brings us to Newton, Massachusetts. June of 1851. Workers at a quarry are breaking apart a large chunk of Roxbury conglomerate. It's being prepared for use in construction. The rock dates back hundreds of millions of years. As they split the rock, something metallic falls out. A bell, made of metal, with intricate designs carved into its surface. The foreman stops work immediately. He examines the bell closely. So do multiple workers. They all see the same thing. This bell was completely enclosed in solid rock. No cracks, no openings. No way it could have been inserted. The bell measures about 4 inches high, made of a zinc and silver alloy. The surface shows decorative designs, flowers or vines, according to witnesses. The craftsmanship indicates skilled metalwork. Here's the problem. The Roxbury conglomerate formed over 600 million years ago, long before any life existed on land, long before anything that could work metal. The discovery makes local news. The bell is displayed publicly. Scientists examine it briefly. Then, interest fades. The bell disappears into a private collection. No comprehensive analysis was ever published. No major institution preserved it for study. The mainstream scientific community never seriously investigated how a manufactured bell ended up inside rock from the Precambrian era. The official explanation, when one is offered at all, suggests contamination. Perhaps the rock had a crack that later sealed. Perhaps the bell was inserted as a prank. But the workers who found it told a different story. The rock was solid. No previous breaks. No signs of tampering. And this isn't the only metal bell found in ancient rock. Similar discoveries were reported in Pennsylvania, in England, in France, all showing the same pattern: manufactured objects, sealed in geological formations millions of years old. Each discovery gets the same treatment: brief interest, then dismissal, then disappearance from academic discussion. The timeline doesn't work, so the evidence gets ignored. Number 3 takes us to Oklahoma. The year is 1912. 2 employees at the municipal electric plant are working with coal delivered from Wilburton Mine. Thomas Jefferson and Frank Kennard are shoveling the coal into furnaces. One large chunk breaks open. Inside is an iron pot, not a rock formation shaped like a pot. An actual manufactured vessel, cast iron, with a handle, smooth interior surface, clear evidence of intentional design and production. The pot measures several inches across. The iron shows casting marks, the kind produced by pouring molten metal into a mold. The handle is integrated into the design, functional, purposeful. Jefferson and Kennard immediately recognize the impossibility. They preserve both the pot and the coal fragments. The impression of the pot is clearly visible in the broken coal pieces, like a mold, proving the pot was completely encased. They bring their discovery to the attention of local authorities. The pot gets photographed. Multiple witnesses examine it. The coal came from the Wilburton Mine, where seams date to over 300 million years ago. An iron pot, with a handle, cast in a mold, found in coal that predates human existence by hundreds of millions of years. The story spreads, but once again, mainstream science shows no interest in investigation. No major institution requests the artifact for study. No comprehensive analysis is ever published. The pot eventually disappears from public view. Some reports suggest it was purchased by a private collector. Others claim it ended up in a museum storage facility. Either way, it's no longer available for modern analysis. The official position? Contamination. Or a modern object that somehow infiltrated the coal supply. But Jefferson and Kennard were certain. The coal chunk was solid. The pot was sealed inside. The impression proved it. This wasn't contamination. This was something that defied geological timelines. And it wasn't the last time Oklahoma coal would yield impossible artifacts. Number 4 comes from Soviet Russia. The year is 1973. Coal miners in the Caucasia region are working deep underground. They're extracting coal from seams that date back millions of years. Standard industrial mining operation. One miner's tool strikes something hard. Not coal, not rock, metal. They clear away the coal carefully. What emerges is a metal rod. cylindrical, perfectly straight, with a threaded end. Not a natural formation, not a mineral crystal that happened to look manufactured, an actual threaded bolt or rod, the kind you'd find in a hardware store. Except this one was buried in coal from the Mesozoic era. The miners bring it to the surface. The foreman examines it. So do mining engineers. The threading is precise, uniform, created with machinery or advanced metalworking tools. The coal around it shows no signs of recent disturbance, no cracks where something could have fallen in, no evidence of tampering or contamination. Soviet scientists briefly examine the rod, but the findings are never widely published. The discovery doesn't fit accepted models of human history, or geological formation, or technological development. The rod is photographed. Then, it disappears into storage. Maybe in a Soviet research facility, maybe in a private collection. The trail goes cold. What makes this case particularly interesting is the precision. The threading on that rod required either machine tools or extremely skilled hand cutting. Either way, it represents advanced metallurgy and engineering, found in coal millions of years old. The official response? Silence. No explanation. No investigation. Just another impossible artifact that gets filed away and forgotten. But the pattern holds. Advanced objects, sealed in ancient coal, witnessed by multiple people, then disappeared from academic discussion. The evidence exists. The question is why it's being ignored. Number 5 returns us to the United States, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. The year is 1869. Coal is being processed for industrial use. Workers break open a large chunk. Inside, they find a rectangular metallic object. Not shapeless metal, not an ore deposit, a manufactured block, smooth surfaces, right angles, clear evidence of intentional shaping. The object measures roughly 2 inches by 1 inch, made of an alloy that includes gold and silver. The surfaces are too smooth to be natural, the corners too precise, the proportions too regular. Multiple witnesses examine it. The coal fragments show the exact impression where the block rested, proving complete encasement, proving it wasn't inserted later. The coal came from Pennsylvania's anthracite fields. That coal formed during the Carboniferous period over 300 million years ago. A manufactured metal block with precise dimensions, found in coal that predates human civilization by an impossible margin. The discovery is documented in trade publications. Mining journals mention it. But mainstream archaeology never picks up the story. No major investigation follows. The block disappears. Whether it was purchased, stored, or lost is unclear. What remains is the documentation, the witness accounts, the published reports from that time. The official explanation, when pressed, falls back on contamination theory. Somehow, a modern object got mixed into ancient coal. Somehow, it became completely encased, with no evidence of insertion. But the witnesses disagreed. The coal was solid. The impression was clear. The object was genuinely ancient. This discovery matters because of the precision. Natural processes don't create rectangular blocks with smooth surfaces and right angles. Ore deposits don't form with regular dimensions and flat faces. Someone shaped that metal, someone with knowledge of metallurgy and geometric precision, and it ended up in coal that formed hundreds of millions of years before humans existed. The implications are staggering, but the investigation never happened. Number 6 takes us to Scotland. Kingoody Quarry. The year is 1844. Workers are cutting stone from a quarry face. The sandstone dates to the Devonian period, roughly 400 million years old. As they split one large block, they discover something embedded inside, a metal nail. Not a nail-shaped crystal, not a mineral formation, an actual manufactured nail, with a head, a shaft, the kind of utilitarian object humans have been making for thousands of years. Except this nail was sealed in rock, 400 million years old. Sir David Brewster, a respected physicist, investigates the discovery. He examines the nail. He examines the stone. He confirms the nail was completely embedded, No cracks in the stone, no openings, no way it could have been inserted. Brewster documents the finding. He presents it to the British Association for the Advancement of Science. He writes about it in scientific publications. The response from mainstream science? Skepticism, dismissal, claims of misidentification or fraud. But Brewster's credentials were solid. He was a respected scientist, a fellow of the Royal Society, not someone prone to careless errors or hoaxes. He was certain. The nail was genuine. The encasement was real. The timeline was impossible. The nail eventually disappeared. Whether it's still in some collection or was lost to time is unknown. But Brewster's documentation remains. A credible scientist reporting an incredible finding. The official position became clear. Such discoveries must be errors, or frauds, or misunderstandings, because the alternative challenges everything. If that nail was genuine, our entire timeline of human civilization is wrong. Our understanding of technological development is incomplete. Our archaeological models need revision. So the discovery gets dismissed. The evidence gets ignored. The pattern continues. But Brewster wasn't the last scientist to encounter impossible objects in ancient rock. Number 7 brings us to Austria, near Salzburg. The year is 1885. A worker at a foundry is processing coal for the furnaces. The coal comes from a mine with seams dating to the Tertiary period, tens of millions of years old. As one chunk breaks apart, a metal cube falls out. Not a natural crystal, not a mineral formation, a manufactured cube, made of a steel and nickel alloy, with precisely cut grooves running around its surface. The cube measures approximately 2.5 inches on each side. The grooves are deep and regular, clearly made with tools or machinery. The faces are flat, the edges sharp, the corners precise. The worker brings it to the foundry supervisor. The supervisor contacts mining engineers. They examine it closely. The conclusion is unanimous. This object was manufactured, shaped with intention, created with metallurgical knowledge. The cube eventually makes its way to the Salzburg Museum. It's catalogued, studied, measured. The nickel-steel composition is confirmed. The precision of the grooves is documented. And then mainstream science reaches a conclusion. Must be a hoax, or contamination, or misidentification. Because accepting it as genuine means accepting that someone with advanced metallurgy existed tens of millions of years ago, before humans, before primates, before any creature capable of such technology. The cube remained in the museum for years, but over time, it disappeared from public display. Whether it's still in storage or was lost is unclear. Attempts to locate it in recent decades have failed. What remains is the original documentation, the measurements, the photographs, the witness accounts. A precisely manufactured metal cube, with regular grooves, made of an alloy requiring advanced metallurgy, found in coal millions of years old. The pattern repeats. Advanced object, ancient coal, multiple witnesses, then disappearance from scientific discourse. The evidence exists. The investigation was never completed. Number 8 takes us back to Illinois. This time, Whiteside County. The year is 1851. Miners working in a coal seam discover something extraordinary. A circular metal object, resembling a coin or medallion. The object is roughly the size and shape of a quarter, made of copper or brass, with markings on both sides, characters or symbols that don't match any known language. The coal seam dates to over 300 million years ago. The object shows clear evidence of manufacture. Smooth edges, uniform thickness, deliberate markings. Multiple miners witness the discovery. The object is removed carefully. The coal surrounding it shows the exact impression, like a fossil, proving complete encasement. The object makes local news. A few scientists examine it briefly. The markings are photographed, but no comprehensive analysis is ever published. The symbols on the surface don't match any known alphabet or numbering system. Not Egyptian hieroglyphs, not cuneiform, not Chinese characters. not any indigenous American writing system. If it's a coin, it's from a civilization we don't recognize. If it's a medallion, the culture that made it is unknown to archaeology. And it was sealed in coal 300 million years old. The object eventually disappears. Some accounts suggest it was sold to a private collector. Others claim it ended up in a museum storage facility. Either way, modern researchers can't locate it. The official explanation? Probably a hoax. Someone inserted a coin into coal as a prank. Or the miners misidentified a natural mineral formation. But the witnesses were clear. The coal was solid. The impression was exact. The object was genuine. And those markings? Never deciphered, never explained, never investigated by mainstream archaeology. Because investigating means asking uncomfortable questions about who made it, about when they lived, about what their civilization was like. Questions that challenge accepted timelines. Questions that demand new answers. Number 9 comes from France. Saint-Jean-de-Levay. The year is 1868. Workers are processing chalk extracted from a quarry. The chalk dates to the Cretaceous period, over 65 million years old, the age of dinosaurs. As they break apart one large chunk, metal objects spill out. 3 of them, manufactured, metallic, impossible. The objects resemble large nails or pegs, made of a metallic composition, with heads and shafts, showing clear signs of intentional shaping. The workers immediately recognize the significance. They preserve the chalk fragments. The impressions of the objects are clearly visible, proving complete encasement in solid material. The discovery is reported to French scientists. Several examine the objects. Several confirm they appear manufactured. Several note the impossibility of the timeline. Chalk from the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago. An era of dinosaurs and primitive mammals. No humans, no primates, no tool-using species of any kind. Yet these metal objects existed, shaped by someone, sealed in geological material from an impossible age. The French scientific community debates the finding. Some suggest contamination. Others propose natural mineral formations that happen to look manufactured. A few acknowledge the genuine mystery. But no comprehensive investigation follows. The objects disappear from public discussion. Whether they're preserved in some French museum storage or lost entirely is unknown. The pattern holds. Impossible artifact, ancient geological material, multiple witnesses, then silence from mainstream science. Because these discoveries threaten established narratives, they challenge comfortable timelines, they demand explanations that current models can't provide, so they get dismissed, ignored, filed away, forgotten. But the documentation exists. The witness accounts survive. The evidence remains, even if the objects don't. Number 10 takes us to a Russian coal mine. The year is 1998. A miner working in Caucasia discovers something extraordinary. Sealed in coal, a small metal object emerges. It resembles a toothed rack or gear section. The object is photographed, examined by mining engineers, measured with precision instruments. It shows characteristics of machine-cut metal, regular spacing, precise angles, uniform thickness. But here's what makes this case different. Modern analysis was possible. The coal is dated using standard geological methods. The seam formed approximately 300 million years ago. The object is examined under microscopy. The metal composition is analyzed. The results confirm manufacture. The teeth are too regular to be natural. The spacing, too precise. The angles, too consistent. This discovery happens in the modern era, with modern documentation, photographs, analysis, published reports in Russian scientific journals. The response from international science? Skepticism, claims of contamination, suggestions of misidentification. But the Russian scientists who examined it were certain. This was a manufactured object, sealed in coal, 300 million years old. The object was preserved. It may still exist in a Russian collection or museum. but attempts by Western researchers to examine it have been unsuccessful. What makes this case compelling is the modern context. This isn't a 19th century report with limited documentation. This is recent, with photographs, with laboratory analysis, with multiple credentialed witnesses, and still, mainstream science refuses to seriously investigate, refuses to acknowledge the implications, refuses to question the established timeline. Because accepting this object as genuine means rewriting human history. It means acknowledging technology existed millions of years before humans evolved. It means our entire understanding of civilization is incomplete. So the evidence gets dismissed. The discovery gets ignored. The pattern continues. 10 cases, each with witnesses, each with documentation, each impossible according to accepted science. 10 impossible objects, found by miners, workers, and laborers across 150 years, from Illinois to France, from Pennsylvania to Russia, from Scotland to Austria. Each discovery followed the same pattern: solid coal, no cracks, no openings, objects completely sealed inside geological formations millions of years old. Mrs. Culp's gold chain, the Newton bell, the Oklahoma iron pot, the Russian metal rod, all documented, all witnessed, all impossible. The precision of the Austrian cube, the mystery of the Illinois medallion, the French metal pegs from the age of dinosaurs, the modern Russian gear section with laboratory analysis. These aren't legends. These aren't folklore. These are documented discoveries with names, dates, and locations. The official response has been consistent: dismiss, ignore, explain away, anything except investigate. Because investigating means asking questions mainstream science isn't prepared to answer. Where did these objects come from? Who made them? What civilization possessed metallurgy and manufacturing millions of years before humans existed? The evidence threatens established timelines, challenges comfortable narratives, demands new explanations for human history and technological development. So the discoveries get filed away, the objects disappear into private collections or museum storage. The witnesses are dismissed as mistaken or fraudulent. The pattern continues. But the documentation remains: published accounts, witness testimony, photographs where they exist, laboratory analysis in recent cases. The question isn't whether these objects were found. The evidence proves they were. The question is what they represent, and why mainstream science refuses to investigate. Perhaps the answer is simpler than conspiracy. Perhaps it's just easier to dismiss impossible evidence than rewrite everything we think we know. Perhaps acknowledging these discoveries means admitting our understanding is incomplete, our timeline uncertain, our confidence misplaced. The coal doesn't lie. It forms over millions of years through well-understood geological processes. When a manufactured object emerges from that coal, something in our understanding is wrong. Either the dating is flawed, or the objects are modern contamination, or someone was creating advanced artifacts millions of years ago. The third option challenges everything. So science chooses the first two explanations, even when the evidence doesn't support them. But evidence has a way of accumulating. 10 cases become 20. 20 become 50. The pattern becomes undeniable. Somewhere, in storage facilities and private collections, these objects still exist. The gold chain, the metal cubes, the gears and nails and mysterious medallions, physical proof of something impossible. The truth is simple. These objects were found. The witnesses were credible. The discoveries were real. What they mean is still being determined, not by mainstream institutions, but by independent researchers willing to question established narratives. The investigation continues. The evidence accumulates. The pattern emerges. Stay curious. Question accepted timelines. Demand evidence for all claims, including official ones, because somewhere in ancient coal, impossible objects are waiting, challenging our understanding, proving that history is far stranger than we've been told.